thrust, there's a whole sequence of movements
Yes.
that
Yes.
we want our mind to be able to follow and let the energy keep our mind and the energy and our body together. And what I was noticing with most people is they've got the body pattern, and then they got this thrust, and the thrusting isn't sending their body into movement. Their body is not following the energy. It's doing its own pattern just because maybe they learned the pattern with their arms first, or they learned the thrust part first, and they learn to thrust and turn their body and thrust and turn their body. So let's review those two things, but the main thing I want to focus on today is putting them together. And having it be of integrity, having the whole body working as one thing. So we do have this thrusting movement that comes from right near the lower dantian up to the rib. So we have this thrusting action that sends this rib around and goes in either direction. So this thrust first comes up to the rib, and then part of the movement is to bring the torso back. And then we're going to do things with our arms, and then we're going to thrust in the other direction, and that's going to take the torso around. Pop. And pop. That's what Mara and I were talking about with the tennis. The thrust is when the tennis ball gets hit. So now, to do a lot of thrusting today, you're going to kind of exhaust yourself. So you can just like quiet the energy of the thrust for the practice part and just visualize the thrust. And you won't, because this is a big chi move, and we're going to do it for a while today. So to get the idea that you're going to go from, I like to think of the hip, but it's really right here. You know, some people will say, well, use your dantian. It's from this side to this rib. Okay. Okay, that's the source of energy behind what's going on. But the energy is not just here in the dantian. And that's where the ball's being hit. That's where your tennis ball's being hit. But there's the whole racket. There's the whole follow through and the wind up. So let's go up to our arms. Now we continually hold our arms in this position, but which arm has the energy in it, and whether the arms are extended or in close is part of the form. So the arm pattern, just as the simple arm pattern, is if your arms are out, and then you're going to take this elbow, choose one of your elbows, and let it come back, and let it draw the hands to the forehead, and the elbow's still high, and the front elbow is still low. Okay? And you've turned, your torso's turned. Now you're going to lower that elbow that's high and drop your mind down to your hip. And this is where the thrust comes to the rib, And then you're going to let that thrust come through the armpit to the elbow, to the wrist, and it's going to take you back around front. Okay? And that wrist is the end of that extension. Okay? And then your hands are forward. And then the mind okay, and the energy's in that wrist, and that's part of this rotation to the side. And then you drop down, and then thrust, and out, and then back, and down, and thrust. Back, and down, and thrust. Back, and down, and thrust. Now, what I had to teach myself a lot was how to keep that elbow high as the hands were coming into the forehead, and wait there until I was ready to drop the chi down to my hip and then push forward. And as I pushed forward, I had to really train myself not to push forward with this arm that had been back. But now the energy had transferred to the other side of my body. That thrust transferred the energy to the other side of my body. And now it was the forward moving arm that was going to take the energy forward. And the back arm was going to just follow. So this movement forward of the hands is all in this arm that's taking, this arm and this wrist is taking the other hand forward. And we tend to really want to push it forward with the hand that dropped. But that hand doesn't have the energy anymore because the energy's been thrusted to the other side of the body. So, okay. Let's just play with what I've said so far and see what makes sense inside your body. I'm going to look in on you. Keep going. I'm going to look in on you and see what I can see. Yeah, be sure you let the energy shift sides. Yeah, okay. Let me see. Okay, so everybody relax for a second. Shake your body around a little bit. Okay. So what I see most of is that we come in here, and then usually what I see is people haven't dropped and then thrusted, but they're kind of thrusting and then letting the elbow follow rather than the elbow drops and then the thrust happens. So the energy is here in this elbow, and then it drops to this hip, and then it thrusts to this rib, and then it comes through the armpit pretty fast. This is pretty fast. And then the wrist is what takes this other side forward. And then the momentum here continues and brings everything back. The energy's here, and then the energy drops to here. And then as the elbow drops, the energy drops, and then and then really fast travels through here, and this gets pushed out. So I see a lot of people using this side of their body to take themselves forward and take their arms forward. Let the energy come from the thrust through the armpit, through the elbow, to the wrist, and the wrist drags the other hand forward. So go ahead and play with that much inside your bodies for a minute. And let me see how things are going. That's good. Just play with it really slow and you'll. Yeah, I can see you guys working with the principles. It's taking a little while, but it's. Yeah, relax yourselves for a minute. What kind of questions are coming up for you? What's hard to track?
At the end, I was feeling like it was, maybe it's not a question, but yes, it was, maybe the question is, what is the essence to get in this form, that it's the real form that connects this energy in this circle that goes, as you say, from this part and that pushes and makes a like ellipses to the up.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like these atoms, you know. At the end, I said maybe it helps me to visualize this line, not the body, but feel that energy when you put the apple or the tennis ball. This circle that goes and gives the energy to the hands and to the arms, to the hands, and then goes down to the ribs, as you say, and try to take the time to.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes maybe the question is, what is the pattern that can help you to do it using the correct muscles or parts of the body? What's first, what's next? Not trying to do the result, not the result, but what's the pattern that.
Yeah, that's how I worked with it myself. I was working with Dr. Peng's book, and I'd had teachings from Ming Tong on it, and I'd watched his body, and but I wasn't getting in my body till I stopped trying to thrust so hard and just tried to get the pattern. And then I let the energy come in, and then I started moving the energy with that poof, that explosion kind of movement. And the hardest part for me was to train my wrist. Once the energy came over to that rib, to train that wrist to be the one that took over. That the energy coming up from that I thrusted, and the energy was here, and then to have this wrist take over. It took me a long time to let go of wanting to push my arms forward with this arm. Instead, I let this arm just drag, and to train this wrist to take over, because this wrist now had all the energy. This side of my body now has all the energy. After the thrust, it's all on this side of my body now. And then that momentum took my hands back around and got me ready to drop down. And then after the thrust, the energy's all on this side of my body now. So I need, this wrist was the one that was taking the other hand forward. And I had to let go of pushing here and use this side to take my hands forward. And then then it is a softening process to just get back here. That was the energy of the follow through. Then it became soft, and it wasn't like a whole lot of force in it, but I was getting back there, and then that was kind of like a wind up in the tennis, and then I dropped down with that energy and swing forward, and then it was on this side now. So learning to switch sides and know that I'd sent the energy to that other side, so it's turned to be in charge, and the other part of my body would just go with, but not take over leadership anymore. Kind of like it's a beautiful, beautiful right left kind of cross cultivation for your brain and your body mapping.
Body mapping, yes.
And I mean, what a lot of what we're doing energetically is we're playing with all of these joints here on the ribs. You know, we're thrusting up into them, and we're opening up joints in this part of our rib cage that don't get moved a lot necessarily. And so it's but I had to just listen to the sequence and break it down, and not choose to train my body parts to respond to in different ways in different patterns.
One thing I find really helpful is to remember to create the figure 8.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's this whole infinity loop that's going on. It's kind of got a bend to it, but there's one loop, and then here's the other loop, and you kind of go through your elbows. Yeah, for a while I wasn't turning my torso. I was just focused so much on the thrust and the forward that I was kind of up here, and no, get your torso turning. Yeah, there's some beautiful infinity loops that are going on. This one is kind of like this. It swoops around back here. It swoops around back here. I mean, you don't need to pay your mind much attention to it, but there's infinity loops that are going on with here, just other places too. But this is the big one and we're doing this incredible connection of the energy right here with Senji Palace. If you want to get, once you get the pattern, you can drop into other levels of it. You're activating with Senji Palace in this beautiful way, and then you're dropping down and and connecting the whole thing deeply with the root of you. Your lower dantian, your feet are engaged. With being solid and providing a counterpoint for this thrust, and the whole body's engaged with this beautiful transfer of energy and this movement between the upper dantian and the lower dantian. So it's got lots of good juice in it. Yeah, I think you're muted. I was trying to unmute you, but can you unmute yourself? Oh, what's going on with the knees, and where is the center of the loop? Okay, well, the knees, they're just rotating with the whole leg. As the torso turns, the knees turn, but there's no bending in the thrust. There's no, you're not popping with your knees here. You want the thrust to come from the dantian to the ribs. It's not coming from a push with the quads and the knees. And then where's the center? The center of the loop would be, right in this midpoint here. in front of your forehead. That's the center of that loop with your wrists and elbows. But I bet if I thought about it, I mean, you've got the bigger loop that's not tied in with our arms, but of the energy. And I don't know, maybe that's Huan Palace or something. I haven't really dropped that deeper in. Now, it's a good question for me to take into my practice.
I thought it was the following the energy that goes down and up, but
Yeah.
maybe
So
because I needed to do it well.
yeah, but if we think of it not just tied in with our arms, but that our arms are a reflection of a bigger pattern, then we're kind of swooping down here on the whole side of us. We're kind of swooping down here on the whole side of us, coming up and through, and then swooping down here on the whole side of us, up and down and through. And we've got this whole pattern that we're activating in our energy body, right? And so the center of that is kind of our central line. And I don't know if we need to have it be a point. It's worth investigating. If we don't limit ourselves by needing to claim something in particular, because the energy is infinite and we're setting up such a big pattern on that level that it could be anything, or our central line and on that level could be it. But somewhere in our core would be the energetic center, maybe Huan Palace. I've certainly never seen anything in the Dr. Peng's books about that kind of thing, but generally the books teach on the physical level and a few hints towards the energetic, and then we discover the rest as we practice. Anything else before we move you to your investigation?
No, it is very good. I like a lot, very much.
Yeah, I would really recommend that you spend another 10 minutes today at 2 different times to play with the body memory. Because body memory kind of expires after 24, 48 hours. So that what you've gotten from this conversation, if you play with it again soon, more will come out, and you'll remember, your body will help you remember things that we did here. Whereas if you wait till next week, you're starting over.
Yes.
Good. So I'll